Welcome back to Monday Musings, a casual conversation about culture and theology. I'm Justin Ely.
And I'm Daniel Chen. We're just a couple guys talking about some stuff.
The stuff we're talking about today is a bonus episode. We're giving you our updated thoughts on Santa Claus.
Yes. And we're doing this because, if
you have kids in the car,
yes, disclaimer. Yeah, disclaimer. Maybe turn it off until there's no kids in the car. Or depending on who you are, keep it on.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
But we did an episode in, was it 2019?
It was a few years ago.
And then we had an update last year, but we're doing a full episode update last year. And this is going to be a shorter episode on Santa because Justin and I, as our kids grow older, keep changing our tune on what we actually do. And so if you're wondering, if you're pro-Santa, anti-Santa, if you're like, people are anti-Santa, just listen to our first episode.
So our first episode was December 8th, 2019. Should Santa Claus give you Santa paws?
Ah, very nice.
Which was your title, very clever. So that was our first one, and then we did another one, I think.
And it was one of our first episodes, right?
It was.
The first 10 episodes, maybe?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then we did another one, I think, in 2021, I believe. November 8th, 2021. Here comes Santa Claus, ... again.
Yes.
And then all our creative titles are gone, so this is Update on Santa Claus.
Yep. Bonus episode, Update on Santa Claus. The other ones were longer. This will be a shorter one. We're not going to give history. We're not going to give...
That's all in the previous ones.
There's all the previous ones. Yeah, listen to that one. We're just going to get an update on what we do now and why.
Yep.
And that's this episode.
But first, instead of our regular of the month series, this is a bonus episode. So we're doing Christmas tradition of the month of the lifetime. Favorite Christmas tradition that you have with your family.
Yeah.
I'll go first. This goes back to my childhood, talking about Santa Claus, I guess. We make these reindeer peanut butter and M&M cookies.
Nice.
They look like reindeers. Reindeer eye. The plural of reindeer, I think, is reindeer.
Yes.
Right. So we make these
like
reindeer.
Oh, you mean reindeer?
Reindeerinites. We make these reindeer cookies Christmas Eve every year. I've done it since I was a kid. The taste, it makes me taste Christmas because it's like...
That makes perfect sense to me.
So favorite tradition,
I'll
for
say
sure.
this. One time I was telling someone about how, food reminds me of, the past.
Yeah.
And these guys I were with just, laughed at me.
No. It's a thing. It's real.
Actually, I think I said this in this podcast 2 weeks ago.
I don't know.
Science. It still bothers me.
It's science. Yeah,
for sure.
What's your favorite tradition?
So I would say we didn't have a lot of traditions growing up. And so I'm gonna give a few. It's funny. My family, one of our traditions is we drink Sunkist at dinner on holidays. I don't know why, but
there you go.
Such a random one. That's not my favorite one though. I'll give one for my family. The one I do with my wife and kids. I just appreciate my wife. She's all about traditions, and I didn't grow up with a ton of traditions, but we put the stockings out and read the Christmas story together and open our presents together. I love that. And and most people are like, that's not a tradition. That's what you do on Christmas. But
no, it's a tradition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But my favorite one is my family and I eat hot pot. Do you know what hot pot is?
No.
It's have you been to Korean barbecue?
Yep.
You know how it's an open flame? Hot pot is a boiling pot of broth.
Ooh.
It's kind of similar idea, but it has more vegetables and stuff.
Okay.
But you take raw meat, you dip it in there and cook it. It's a little like fondue.
Okay.
The frying oil portion of fondue. Obviously, there's no cheese. But we do that every Christmas. It's my favorite.
Love it.
My mom's trying to change it this year, and I said, "Don't you dare change
Don't
that."
do it.
So I love it. It's just fun because you sit around and dinner takes 2 or 3 hours, but you're just chatting. It's a lot of fun. You just keep eating. It's so much food. It's just a good time.
That's good.
That feels like Christmas to me.
That's good. That's a neat tradition. All right, so on to Santa Claus. So
I'm Chinese, by the way,
Oh.
if you're wondering. If you're a new listener and you're like, why does this dude do hot pot? Because of it's culturally. Yeah. So
I'm going to I'm just moving on. All right. Okay, so Santa Claus. So maybe give listeners just a brief summary where you've been and then where you're at now.
Yeah. So it's become...
And how old your kids are.
Yeah. So my kids, I have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and one on the way.
Hey-o.
So, yeah, I guess I'm taking the Be Fruitful and Multiply series.
Be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah. And it's funny. If you listen to our first episode, I was pretty anti-Santa.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like, oh, man, people are anti-Santa, once again, listen to that episode. But especially amongst the Reformed crowd.
I was going to say, there is probably a strong correlation. If you are Arminian, you're probably pro-Santa. If you're a Calvinist, you're probably anti-Santa.
Yeah, if you're in the Reformed crowd, it's just becoming increasingly popular to like be anti-Santa.
Bash Santa, yeah.
But I never really grew up with a huge imagination of Santa anyways. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of like I was Reformed. I didn't really grow up with Santa. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Sure. I've loosened my stance on it some as my kids have gotten older. It's one to say in theory whether you should do Santa or not. Mm-hmm. But we still don't. So where we are, we still don't do Santa. But it's not because we hate Santa. That makes sense. Like some people hate
Sure.
Santa. But it's for a couple reasons. One, we've never done it, and now Charlotte's 5. My oldest daughter's 5,
right.
And it's kind of like you can't just like randomly start. Secondly, I'm still where I am. Like I want my kids to know that we give them gifts because I paid for them.
You work hard.
Santa didn't do anything. I did that, you know? But where we do it now is like, right now my son who's 4 talks about Santa a lot. And where we've just kind of been is that we treat it kind of like a character in a movie. And so we don't really say, like, I don't have to tell him that, like, you know, the Darth Vader Lego is not real.
Right.
We just watch it, and he
Darth Vader.
He plays Darth Vader sometimes, and my son is all about the bad guys, by the way. I'm always like, in a video game, I have to be the good guy.
Right.
But he, like, wants to be the bad guy, and that's, like, new to me. I don't know what to do with that.
Pastor's kid.
Classic, yeah. It's the second born, too.
Yeah.
You know? But what we do is we don't tell, it's not like we sit him down and we're like, everyone's lying to you.
Right.
Santa's not real. And, you know, whatever. But we're also not like, do this big Santa thing either.
Yep.
We just kind of let it be.
Yep.
And, like, if our parents want to do it, my parents don't, but if, like, my wife's parents want to do Santa, we're not going to stop them. Our kids talk about Santa. They like Santa blow up things like, you know, lights and stuff.
Yep.
I think they just kind of they see it as a character. So I don't think in their mind they've just like distinguished between like this is not real and real, you know?
Right, sure.
I think they know like I watch TV and Elsa's on TV. I don't think they think about like, well, I guess there's this place in Europe, you know, in Norway or wherever she's from, and maybe it's just kind of like, when I watch TV, there's Elsa, and I think that's kind of what Santa is to them. And as they grow older, we'll have more conversations. But I think it's okay if you think I'm like an evil parent, whatever. I'm like, I grew up really without Santa, and people tell me I'm like the happiest person they know. So it's gonna be okay, you know.
Oh man.
And so that's where we kind of land. We're not really in the place where Meredith and I still, like, especially my wife, she doesn't love the idea. Like, she still kind of feels like if you really do this big Santa thing, it feels kind of like lying. And so theologically, maybe that's as far as we would go. It's like, we don't want to, like, feel like we're lying to our kids. I know you have a different answer for that, and we're about to hear from that, which I think is really good.
Yeah, sure.
But we're not like theologically like you can't do Santa, you evil parents, if you do Santa.
Right.
We're not there. But we're not also like we're gonna make this big thing where, you know, like like your story.
Yeah, I was traumatized. Yeah, go back and listen.
And so that's where you're at. That's the update.
That's
so
good.
We're maybe Santa neutral.
Santa neutral. There we go. So yeah, I grew up in a very Santa positive family.
We
were Santa positive.
Yeah, Santa affirming family.
Yeah, we were very Santa affirming. Gosh. And then I would say like college, late college, early 20s, pretty against it for like it's lying to your kids. Like
Yeah.
it's about Jesus, not about Santa. And,
Which is still true,
Yeah.
theologically. It is about Jesus.
Yep.
And, like, really that's what, even if you do Santa, revolve it around Christ,
Yep.
right? Not necessarily the Christmas around Christ.
Yeah. And when we started our first episode on it a few years ago, I was definitely struggling with it.
And Hannah was how old? Your oldest?
Oh, gosh. So 2019. So it was her
First.
second Christmas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she was like one,
She was
right?
one. She wasn't even two yet.
Yeah.
So
Then, see, it's like you didn't have to come face to face
Right.
with, like...
the reality, your decision. So, yeah, our kids are Hannah's 4, Sarah's 2, David's 3 months old. And so I have shifted pretty far back pro Santa.
Yeah. And was it the Keller article? Is that what got you?
Was it a Keller article?
It
I don't
sounds-
think it was.
It's the Keller quoting Tolkien.
He's quoting Tolkien about the value of
Yeah.
myth. So I do think there's a lot of value in myth. I think the like wonder we're supposed to feel about the gospel is a wonder that a child does feel toward like Santa Claus. And I think you can help your kid understand the gospel by helping them understand that feeling of wonder. So what I do...
It's funny. You say the wonder of Santa Claus, and I legitimately am like trying to search my memory databanks, and I cannot relate.
Right.
Isn't that
right,
funny?
Right.
I
yeah.
like can't. I
Yep.
don't know. Like when you say that,
Like, yeah.
intellectually can
Yes.
relate with you. I don't know what that feels like.
It's
Isn't that funny?
It's a pretty unique feeling. So I'm trying to balance all the stuff. So what we do, I talk a lot about the historical Saint Nick. And go back in our previous episodes, Saint Nicholas was an incredible pastor. He was at the Council of Nicaea. He helped write the Nicene Creed. Loved Jesus, loved children, and gave good gifts to children. So I talk a lot about Saint Nicholas, and I say Saint Nicholas was a pastor many many years ago who loved Jesus, who was a follower of his, and he loved to give gifts to children. And ever since Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus has been coming to visit children to give them gifts like Saint Nicholas did. And I'm clear to say Saint Nick and then Santa Claus. I distinguish between the two. I might say like Saint Nick was the first Santa or something. And then when the kids get old enough to where I think it's we think it's time, what we plan to do is we plan to take them out to like breakfast, Hillary and I and the one kid, and say, you're getting older, and talk about how they're maturing and things that we're proud of, and we think it's time to let you in on the secret. And the secret is we've told you ever since you were a kid the truth, that St. Nicholas was a pastor, he loved children, he gave gifts to kids, and ever since then, Santa Claus has been coming to visit children. The truth is you're now old enough to also become a Santa Claus. And Santa Claus is about the spirit
Santa
of
Claus
giving.
is like an idea.
It's about the spirit of giving in honor of St. Nicholas, who did it in honor of Jesus, who is the ultimate giver. And so this Christmas is your first Christmas being a Santa Claus. And who would you like to give an anonymous gift to that you don't get credit for? Because ultimately giving isn't about receiving credit for it. It's about giving to others.
Yeah.
So that's how we hope to do it.
So how do you do the gifts now? Like,
So yeah, they'll get a gift from Santa.
just one, or how do you guys do it?
We're trying to not do overboard, but we try to do.
You worked hard for your money too.
I did. I did.
And Hillary as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to do the like really cool gift from Santa.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I want that to
So
be
the
like
opposite. I'm
right.
like, the coolest gift is from
Right.
from Dad,
From
guys.
Mom and Dad. You're welcome. So yeah, we'll do that. And then a lot of like when they ask questions, I'll just be like, I'll deflect. So I'll be like, I don't know. What do you think? And then we read the stories, and we were watching, Disney Plus released, Tim Allen came out with the Santa Clauses or whatever.
Right.
It's like a show from the movies. And they actually did the same thing in the show. I thought it was pretty neat is he met all the previous Santa Clauses in one episode. And it goes back to Saint Nick, and they actually talk about the history of Saint Nicholas in the show.
Cool. I guess like
So that's how we do it.
so if you this is what you're talking about. Like I'm like my kids have got to put together like the closest thing to Santa Claus in their lives is the Amazon delivery guy. You know? And it's like they know. Like how do you keep that from your kids? Like
The presents?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's been a struggle this year. I mean, honestly,
who goes to the store anymore?
I know. Next year, I'm thinking of having all the gifts delivered to my parents' house because it was just too stressful to like keep them from the front door and like figure out what's coming. Just boxes everywhere, and a lot of boxes do not. They don't even try to cover up the present. It's like a picture of a bike on front of it. It's like, well, thanks for being discreet. But our thing was, and this is oversimplifying. You either are put in an awkward situation with your kids, or you put your kid in an awkward situation with other kids.
Sure,
that's the choice.
Yep.
And so that's difficult, and but that is a cultural reality. Like you choose one or the other. My conscience is clear. I don't think we're lying to our kids. I'm telling them the truth about St. Nicholas. And, as far as I'm concerned, I am Santa, and Santa is coming to visit you. So I'm just going by a different name. And then what you deduce from the stories and
I'm all about a good loophole, man.
Yeah, what you deduce from the stories we read and the movies we watch, just like you said, you watch Star Wars. That's up to you. But I'm hoping to promote wonder. I think the value of good mythology and good imagination carries a helpful like component just in life in general, but also like helping you understand the wonder of the gospel. I think mythology can do that in a unique way. And I'd point you to our previous episodes where I talk about C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien on that. So that's what we do. So
nice.
Yeah. Any other Christmas traditions at your house that are helpful as far as like pointing your family to Christ in the Christmas season?
Yeah. In Advent, we have this thing. I don't know what the brand is, but we have like these Advent cards that slowly tell the story of the birth of Christ and what the importance is. And you read a short piece of scripture together and then you ask questions. Awesome. It's great.
Yeah.
Christmas morning, we read the Christmas story from the Jesus Storybook Bible. We pray together and praise God for, the blessings he gives us. And, we open gifts. So
it's great.
I don't think anything too out there. But.
Yeah, we do a Jesse tree, which is really neat. I'd encourage you to Google it. And it starts December 1st. It goes to the 25th. And it's basically like a creation to Christ storyline for 25 days. So you have an ornament for each day, and it's a different Bible story leading up to Jesus. And then the 25th is, he's arrived.
Yeah.
And it's just a great way to just kind of immerse yourself in the Christmas story. So we do that each night. They have an Advent Mandalorian chocolate calendar, but that has no spiritual significance whatsoever other than a piece of chocolate after dinner every night. Yeah. Christmas Eve service together.
It says, "This is the way,
this
the
is
truth,
the way,
and the life."
Yes. Jesus. We go to the Christmas Eve service, obviously, each year. And then, Christmas Eve, I will read 'Twas a Night Before Christmas.
Oh, cool.
For all you pro-Santa folk.
It's fine.
And then Christmas morning, my mom gave us one years ago that was like, 'Twas the morning of Christmas or whatever. And it's in the same like rhyme style, but it's the story of Christ being born. So we'll read that on Christmas morning and then go to town, open presents. So that's our traditions. But we'd love to hear from you all what you do with Santa and Christmas traditions that you have. You can reach us at info@christfellowshipga.org. And while you're at it, if this podcast has been a help to you, we'd invite you to like us, subscribe, or share it with friends and family. Any final thoughts?
No. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thanks for being part of this podcast with us.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you soon.